Testing the sound. This is only a test. The audio will resume when the service begins. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad that you could be here. Those of you that are here in person in our beautiful sanctuary on this icy, freezing cold evening, and those that are hopefully watching comfortably and warmly from home as well. My name is Cantor Sarah Beck-Berman. I'm so glad you're here. Rabbi Nagel is on sabbatical in the month of January, studying Musar, Applied Jewish Values, so make sure to ask him about Musar when he gets back. Joining me this evening in leading our service is Jim Bennett at the piano, and also our immediate past president of the Board of Managers, Lee Katz, is with me here on the bima this evening. There we go. During our service this evening, we will be using Mishkan Tefillah for Shabbat, our prayer book for Shabbat, and I'll do my best, as always, to announce all page numbers, but be aware that some of the prayers are in a two-page layout, such that the right-hand page has the Hebrew transliteration of the Hebrew into English characters and translation of the Hebrew into English, and the left-hand page has alternative poems and readings on the theme of that prayer. And so during the whole service, I invite everyone to read along, sing along, hum along in whatever way is most comfortable for you. We'll begin in our prayer books this evening on page 20. Page 20 for our prayer Lecha Dodi, which the chorus is at the top of page 20, and we'll be singing verses 1 and 2. And then as we go into verse 9, I'll remind everyone to rise and we face the door as we greet the Shabbat as though she were a queen or a bride. And then as soon as we finish singing the 9th verse, we go back to the chorus and we all can sit back down at that time. So I'll remind us all of that stuff as we get to it. Let's sing together Lecha Dodi on page 20. Lecha Dodi likerakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likerakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamur v'zachur b'dibur echad hishme'anu el ham yuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'lehilah. Lecha Dodi likerakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likerakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha ki mekor haberacha merush mikedem nesucha sof maaseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha Dodi likerakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likerakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. We rise and face the door. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzala tochem u'niyam segula. Boi chala, boi chala. Lecha Dodi likerakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi likerakala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shabbat Shalom once again. Please be seated. Now this week is not only Shabbat Shirah, the Sabbath of Song, which you'll hear more about in my sermon. It's also our annual celebration of Global Jewish Music Shabbat. And so you're going to hear during the service songs and prayers, melodies for prayers that come from all over the Jewish world. This particular melody for Lecha Dodi is written by Aaron Ben Susan, and it reflects a North African, like Maghrebi, Mizrahi Jewish music background. And as we enter Shabbat, as we come into Shabbat, we mark the transition from regular everyday time to the sacred holy time of Shabbat. And we do that by lighting candles and saying Kiddush, the blessing over wine or grape juice that sanctifies Shabbat. And so at this time, we turn back in our prayer books, in our Siddurim, to page 2. And I invite everyone to light the candles with me vicariously. We say the blessing together on page 2. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We continue on page 5. On page 5, as I invite everyone to join me in Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'ei kodesh, zecher litziot Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. Amen. Excuse me. L'chaim. Delicious. And now that we have marked that transition into the sacred special time of Shabbat, we enter the part of our service called Shema Uvirchoteha, the Shema and all of the blessings that surround her. And that begins with our call to worship together as one community, which is in our prayer books on page 28. Page 28, please rise. Adonai, המבורך And as we turn to our prayer for the evening sky, which is on page 31 in the middle of the page, I ask my customary question, what phase is the moon in? Anybody know? Yes, it's a waxing gibbous moon. I always check my watch just to be sure. But it is, in fact, a waxing gibbous or waxing gibbous moon. And really, we know that also by looking at the Hebrew calendar, because tonight into tomorrow is the 13th of the month of Shvat. We're very close to Tu B'Shvat, which is the 15th, or the full moon of Shvat, where we celebrate the trees. It's the birthday of the trees. And so as we're approaching that full moon and the moon is getting brighter, we hope to invite a little bit of that full moon light into our lives and maybe a little bit of the aliveness of the plants as well, especially on a weekend like today. So we're thinking about the moon and all the stars and all the works of creation visible at night as we say our prayer for the evening together in the middle of page 31. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, hama'ariv aravim. Amen. We turn now in our Sidurim, in our prayer books, to page 34 as we prepare for Shema. Page 34, Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kibud, Malchuto Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Echad. Please be seated. We continue on page 37, reading together in the English. Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children, talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Adonai Elohechem, Emet. We continue in our Sidurim, in our prayer books, on page 40. Page 40 with the song of our freedom and redemption, and this evening also the topic, or at least part of the topic of my sermon, because it happens, the first few lines of this prayer happen in this week's Torah portion. Mi chamocha. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. More melodies to come on that one. We continue in our service at this time, though, with the prayer, the moment in our prayer where we think about and celebrate Shabbat, as we turn to page 44 and we sing the Ashkenazi folk melody for Yismechu at the bottom of page 44. Yismechu v'malechutecha, hey, Shumrei, Shumrei, Shumrei Shabbat v'korei odek Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shumrei, Shumrei, Shumrei Shabbat v'korei odek Shabbat. Mekadeshei, Mekadeshei Shevei Shabbat. Kulam yisbehu v'yitangu mitu v'chashabat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei odek Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei odek Shabbat. Uvashvi'i ratzita bo v'kedashto Shabbat. Chemdat yamim oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei odek Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei odek Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh v'reshit Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh v'reshit Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei odek Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei odek Shabbat. Yeah. Keywords celebrate Shabbat, as the rabbi always says. And now we come to the central portion of our service, the Amidah, sometimes called the Tefillah, the prayer, which begins on page 46 and continues across the next several pages, but we'll start together on page 46. Please rise.
Adonai sefatati
Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Velohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Velohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor Vehanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chastei Avot V'imahot, Umevi Geula Livnei Vneihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechayei HaKol Atah Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach U'Morid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechayei HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umkayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Michamocha Bal Gevurot, Umito Melach, Melech Memit Umchayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot ha'kol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yehallelucha Selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'il HaKadosh. Please be seated. We turn to page 55, and we read together at the top of the page. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. We continue with a few moments of silent prayer and reflection using the words on the following pages or the words that are in our hearts. We continue with our prayer for peace at the bottom of page 62, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom mimeromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom mimeromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom mimeromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen. At this moment in our service, we think about those people that are in need of healing. And as we turn to our Shabbat program for our Mishberach prayer for healing on the inside of the program, at Beth Ahabah this week, we're thinking of the following people who are in need of healing: John Phillipson, Leo Bezanson, Eden Katzenbaum, Richard Balderston, Bob Marks, Charles LeBeau, Jeffrey Teeger, Rivka Kogan, David Tallheimer, Randall Markham Berman, Andrea Bardenett Beam, Lorraine Badofsky, Kathy Marks, Anita Leibowitz, Matthew Deinhardt, Hal Kalish, Shayna Hannah Silver, Rebecca Eichelbaum, Christine Lopez, Irv Kleinman, Sarah Frida Badbela, Arlene Silver Shafton, Fran Bradford, Norman Shear, Robin Sue Brockenborough, David Sachs, Caitlin Zay, Percy Wiley, Larry Ayers, Brenda Stork, Ronan Ferguson, Gay Baker, Greg Smith, Sherman Lubman, Barbara Bradshaw, Claudia Biegler. And I invite those of you here, if there's anyone at all whom you're thinking about who's in need of healing this Shabbat, to share their names out loud or in your hearts as I scan the room. We're thinking of all these people who are in need of healing, as we think also of our world that is always in need of healing. And we turn to our Mishberach prayer for healing in our Shabbat programs. Mi sheberach avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Mi sheberach imotenu, Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Mi sheberach avotenu, mi sheberach imotenu, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Amen. Now for a few words about this week's Torah portion. Don't worry, I'm not going to read the whole portion. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. One more time. This week's portion, thank you. This week's portion is called Parshat Beshalach. And it's called that because, as is the case with all of the names of the books of the Torah and the names of the portions, this is the first significant word or phrase. In the beginning of the portion, it says, Vayhi Beshalach Paro et Ha'am, meaning, and it came to pass when Pharaoh had let the people go. Beshalach, sent them out. And this portion concludes the Exodus story that takes place in Egypt. Right in the middle of the portion, of this week's portion, Israel experiences the miracle of the Sea of Reeds, sometimes mistranslated or said as the Red Sea, the Sea of Reeds that recedes and or splits into two walls depending upon which verse you're reading, and it gives them a walkway across the sea, and then the waters return and flood Pharaoh's pursuing forces. And upon witnessing this incredible sight, what does Israel do? They sing. They sing something which has become known to us as the Song of the Sea, Shirat Hayam in Hebrew, and the word shir or shirah means song in Hebrew. So this very Shabbat, this Shabbat that has this Torah portion, is also called Shabbat Shirah, the Sabbath of song. This song is one of the oldest in the Torah. It's one of the only songs in the Torah, and it's one of the oldest passages in the Torah, scholars believe. And before I'm done with my remarks, I will sing part of the Song of the Sea and one of the oldest melodies that we have for it. It is a Sephardi melody. It goes back farther than written music, but we don't know, because it goes back farther than written music, how old it is, as is the case with pretty much all of traditional Jewish music. There are many beautiful melodies for chanting the Song of the Sea from the Torah, and I encourage you in your own time to visit our YouTube channel, where I have compiled a playlist of just a few examples of people chanting the Song of the Sea from around the world, including videos of Ashkenazi traditions, the variations of the Sephardi melody, and a couple examples from the Abba Yudaya community in Uganda as well. It's probably worth pointing out that not only do we read the Song of the Sea, or I suppose I should say chant, the Song of the Sea during the Torah portion this week, it also appears in the liturgy, in the prayer books, especially of Sephardim. I want to say it's probably in certain versions of the Ashkenazi prayer book as well. And so depending on which Jewish community you're in, you might sing this song more than once a year. You might sing it every week, which is pretty cool. And before I do sing those selections from the Song of the Sea, because you can't top it, like you can't do anything after that, so I'm going to close with that. But I want to draw your attention to a couple of lines from the song. The first line is in verse 2. The song itself is the first 19 or so verses of chapter 15 of Exodus. And in verse 2 it says, Ozi v'zimratya vayhi li shua. The Eternal is my strength and might. God has become my deliverance. And that little line has been pulled out and turned into many a song, one of the more famous modern melodies being Rabbi Shefa Gold's Ozi v'zimratya vayhi li shua. It's a good one. So that line is very famous as well, but we're going to focus on the other super famous line from the Song of the Sea, which is in verse 11, and that is where we get the beginning of the prayer, Mi chamocha, who is like you, O Lord, among the mighty? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, revered in praises, doing wonders? And you can actually see the words to the Mi chamocha in your prayer books on page 40, if you want to. That little first paragraph on page 40 is all a direct quote from the Torah, a direct quote from the Song of the Sea. Lastly, there's one other little teeny weeny verse in verse 18 that is also in our Mi chamocha prayer. If you look, the very last line of the second paragraph on page 40 says, Adonai yimloch leolam va'ed. The Eternal will reign forever and ever. And that is in verse 18 of our Song of the Sea as well. So there's a lot of other images in the Song of the Sea that are pretty much focused on God is so powerful, all of these 10 plagues and crazy stuff just happened, and the Pharaoh's chariots and army were all completely vanquished, etc., etc. So there's a lot of images like that, a lot of poetical images, and then you have these really famous lines that were so beloved and became so popular that they were included in the liturgy itself in the Jewish prayer book. And as you can imagine, there are many melodies that we use to chant this prayer, which is taken from the Song of the Sea. Before I sing some examples of melodies, though, I just want to tell you a little bit about the prayer itself. And also mention to you that I made another playlist with even more melodies of Mi chamocha on our YouTube channel, just in case you're interested. So this prayer that's on page 40 that we call Mi chamocha is actually a part of a longer section in the service that's included both in the morning and the evening service, which I alluded to earlier, called Shema uvirchoteha, the Shema and her blessings, meaning the Shema and the blessings that surround the Shema. And these blessings, taken together, form an emotional and a narrative arc throughout this section of the service, beginning with that call to worship as one community, Baruch Hu, then moving to reflections on creation, all the works of creation, in our case, in the evening, those visible at night. In the morning version of this part of the service, the prayer, the creation prayer is about or and light. Or is how you say light in Hebrew. The next little part is reflections on divine love. So that's getting a little bit more specific. The works of creation are completely universal. It's not just for the Jewish people, right? Creation is for everything and everyone. But then you start talking about divine love, and you're starting to talk about the specific relationship between Israel and our God, like our understanding of God, our relationship with God. And one of the things that tie us together, the things that join us together, namely the Torah and the mitzvot, the commandments. And so those feature heavily in those prayers in that section of the service. Then after divine love, we have the Shema itself. The Shema and the paragraphs after the Shema, including the V'ahavta, those are all direct quotes from Torah, and they are representative of the revelation of Torah itself. And then after that, the very last section of this emotional arc is redemption, freedom, being rescued, being saved or safe. And that is the Mi Chamocha. And there's a paragraph that leads into the Mi Chamocha as well. The images that we see looking at page 38 and page 40 in our prayer book are very inspired by this week's Torah portion, as well as the story of the Exodus as a whole. And this whole narrative arc, as I said, takes us from the universal to that very particular moment of being rescued by God in this moment of Mi Chamocha, of being rescued and redeemed. And one of the purposes of this emotional arc is to try to get us into the right mindset, the right frame of mind, to pray in the next section of the service, which is the Amidah, which, as you just did a few minutes ago, right, we're communing with the divine in an even more personal and direct way. It was not always the case that the Mi Chamocha prayer had specific composed tunes or melodies for it, because traditionally there were very few specifically composed tunes for the liturgy. Traditionally you had a series of modes of types of melodies that you would use, and you would, if you were the cantor or the prayer leader, you would maybe do a little bit of improvisation within those modes, but, and there would be certain ancient motivic patterns that you would use, but it wasn't like the modern Debbie Friedman, yeah, la, 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 you didn't have that stuff in ancient times. But there is a fairly long-standing tradition of communities in the Ashkenazi tradition to take specifically the Mi Chamocha prayer on Shabbat evening and set it to a seasonal tune. So during the Shabbat that falls within the holiday of Hanukkah, you will hear me do Mi Chamocha to the tune of Maoz Tzur. Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, and so forth. You'll hear Mi Chamocha set to the High Holiday tune for High Holidays. Some congregations will sing it to a Purim tune called Shoshanat Yaakov near Purim, and so on and so forth. Now, of course, today there's many, many, many modern composed melodies, so it's easy to forget that, like, Mi Chamocha was the original prayer for all seasons. You could do it to all kinds of different tunes. It didn't necessarily have its own tune, but these days it does, in fact, have many of its own tunes. Now, when we read the Exodus story from the Torah, and when we come to the Mi Chamocha prayer in our services, it's not only about a call back to the really amazing, dramatic story of the Exodus. It's also about taking that message of redemption, of being rescued from challenges and threats, and finding a way to make it real for us today. So what does it mean for redemption to be real for us today? As I am about to sing some of the examples, I hope that you'll hold in your minds and in your hearts some questions for personal reflection about Mi Chamocha, because I think that the melodies themselves can take us in different directions and can lead us to have different thoughts and experiences on this theme, on reflecting about redemption and freedom. So what are the things that you believe that you personally need to be saved or rescued from today? What actions could you take to accomplish that? Are there times that you sit back and wait for something or someone else to come along and fix things for you? And what does it mean to be free? Those are just a few questions that I think are worth reflecting on during Mi Chamocha. Of the melodies, there's so many, so I'm only going to share a few today. I'll begin with one which is from Morocco. And the melody itself begins at the very bottom of the previous paragraph, on bottom of 38, but I'll just sing for you the part that's the Mi Chamocha itself. Mi Chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi Chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Nora Teilot, Adonai joyful, but it's got a certain solemnity to it, right? It feels like, I don't know, you're standing on really solid ground. At least to me, it's all relative, right? To me, it feels like it's joyful, but it's also really like stable and grounded into the earth. Now, the next melody I want to share with you is used commonly in Ashkenazi communities all over the place, and it is actually within those traditional prayer modes that I was talking about for Friday night. So it may be familiar to some of you. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, norad hilot u'seifele, malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'lianu v'yamru, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. And then the cantor would go on, doodly doodly doo, and then you'd all say the blessing at the end, or amen. Now, there's a melody written by my cantorial teacher, Chazan Jack Kessler, who wrote it specifically to go with that traditional Ashkenazi prayer mode, because a lot of the melodies, the modern kind of pop or American folk or whatever type melodies that people have composed really don't fit that mode very well. They're more in like a major kind of a sound, or they're even in Phragish, which is the which is very Jewish, but not really what you would do traditionally on a Friday night. So Chazan Jack Kessler wrote the following, which you have heard me sing many times during services as well. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar ba'kodesh, norad hilot osefele, norad hilot osefele. It has kind of a Latin groove, and when like Natan's playing on the piano, you're like, all right, let's tango, you know? But it leads immediately into the traditional melody. Like it just seamless transition, and that's why he wrote it that way. And now for something completely different. This next melody was composed by Cantor Richard Silverman. It's also a modern melody, but it has a lot more of a Hasidic kind of a vibe, particularly because of the nigun, which is a wordless melody, that we have both ya bye bye bim bim bam, and we've got ay ay ay, and it doesn't get more Hasidic than ya ba ba bim bim bam and ay ay ay, like truly. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar ba'kodesh, norad hilot osefele, norad hilot osefele, ya bye ba bim bim bam, ya ba bye ba bim bam, ya bye ba bim bim bam, ya ba bye ba bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba 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 bim bam, ay 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 ay, ya ba 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 bim bam. It's classic, right? There are many other examples, including, I didn't quite feel confident enough to sing this one for you myself, but there's a modern composition of a Persian melody that was written by my colleague, Cantor Jacqueline Rafi, who was very helpful to me when I did one of these presentations about Persian Jewish music, and she composed a Persian melody for Mi Chamocha, including even some Persian lyrics, and there's many more. But I want to close, as I said I would, by returning to the portion of the week and singing that ancient Sephardi melody for the Song of the Sea. So first, I want to just set the scene in our minds. We have been in bondage. Our lives have been turned upside down by some guy named Moses who came in from the wilderness with the name of God and a promise of freedom. Many of us were too filled with bitterness to hear him. The miracles and the wonders and the plagues were not only to convince Pharaoh to let us go, it was also to convince us that there was something better out there, something that we could have if we were brave enough to follow Moses into the wilderness. At the 11th hour, Pharaoh's chariots have chased us to the edge of the Sea of Reeds, but once again, divine, miraculous events occur, creating a pathway through the sea, leading us away forever from the only life that we've ever known. But we did it. We're free. And we sing this song in praise and in wonder and in victory. Az yashir Moshe u'bnei Yisrael et hashira hazod l'Adonai vayomeru le'emor ashir al Adonai ki gaoga sus v'rochevor vayam uzi v'zimrat ya vayehi Yeshua, Zeli v'anvehu Elohei avivarom emenhu Adonai ish milchama Adonai shemo Markevot paro v'chilo Yahara vayam Umivchar shalishav Tubehu v'yam suf Michamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, norat tehilot osef ele. Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. May we move from strength to strength. May we never take our freedom for granted. And may we be inspired this Shabbat Shirah to sing our own songs of praise and gratitude when we experience victory, and to remember that feeling of hope even when the challenges around us feel impossible to defeat. Shabbat Shalom. We return now to our Sidurim, to our prayer book, on page 282. Page 282, as I invite Lee to join me in opening the Ark for Aleinu. Please rise. Tate gedula liotzer bereshit shelo asanu kegoye haratzot velo samanu kemishpechot adama shelo sam chelkeinu kahem vegor aleinu kechol hamonam va'anachnu משתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא Please be seated. We turn now in our Sidurim to page 294 as we remember those whom we've loved and lost. This week, Beth Ahabah is thinking of those people that have just recently passed away: Meryl Fulmer, Francis Lewis, Linda Straukler, Mary Berkelhammer, and Klaus Forsman. And we're also thinking of the yard sites, the anniversaries of passing of John David Anderson, Mildred Fox Baum, Cindy Beer, David Bernstein, Molly Black, Elizabeth Silver Blumberg, Eva Brummer, Frank Caldwell, Joseph Elkin, Mildred Levitin Elkin, Bertram Freed, Clarice Glazer, Louis Goldstein, Alex Hirschberg, Mildred Wallerstein Hutzler, Benjamin Jaffe, Murray Janis, Pearl Kurzman, Gerald Lamaskin, Helen Jane Leahy, Gerald Leinwand, Deborah Leosi Meisenberg, Elliot Levi, Ruth Mandel, Susan Markel, Carol Mills, Elmer Nathan, Helen Dershowitz-Pagalis, Camille Long Robb, Stephen Reinhard, Alfred Rosenfeld, Francis Snyder Rubin, Simon Siegel, Sarah Simon, Arnold Spanier, Gustavus Thalheimer, Simon Thies, Blanche Ullman, and Bruce Unger. And if any of you here or watching are in Shiva, the 7 days of mourning following a loved one's death, Shloshim, the 30 days of mourning following a loved one's death, if this weekend is a yard site, an anniversary of passing, or if there's simply someone that you'd like to remember on the occasion of this Shabbat, then I invite you, as I scan the room, to say those names out loud or hold them in your hearts. We remember them, and we say the Kaddish in their memory, and we also say Kaddish for those who have no one to say the Kaddish for them. I invite those of us in mourning to please rise, those observing a yard site to please rise, and as is our custom here at Beth Ahabah, the entire congregation to please rise in support of one another as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach li'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei d'kudisha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Yehi zichronam livracha. May their memories always be an abiding blessing. Amen. Please be seated. It's now my pleasure to call to the podium immediate past president of our congregation, Lee Katz, for a few greetings and announcements.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome for those in our beautiful sanctuary and for those that are watching on YouTube. As always, thanks to the Cantor and Jim for a lovely service tonight. Appreciate that. So coming this week, yes, another winter storm is coming, apparently. So at the very least, the sidewalks will remain too icy, so religious school and all activities are canceled on Sunday, February 1st. The Rise Against Hunger emergency meal packaging event has been rescheduled for Sunday, March 22nd. This event runs not only on This event runs not only on volunteers to measure and pack the food, but also on donations to purchase all the supplies needed, and we need more donations to ensure we can fund the event. So please see your e-news either to register or to donate. Join us on Tuesday, February 3rd at 6 p.m. for dinner at St. James program at 6:45. Our interfaith dialogue with St. James Episcopal Church this year will explore the topic of sacred spaces in each of our faiths, beginning at St. James, then walking to Beth Ahabah to learn about our own beautiful sanctuary, and to finish with tea and dessert here. As always, please see the e-news to register. Torah study does continue this week on Thursday at noon, both in person, God willing, and on Zoom. And then Thursday, February 5th, and this is for congregants 21 plus, so 21 and over. They're invited to our whiskey tasting event with Rabbi Nagel. Learn about and taste 8 different whiskeys from around the world, alongside heavy hors d'oeuvres. Designated drivers will eat for free. See the e-news for more information and to register. Then next week, services will continue at the usual time. Members register now for the First Friday dinner and supervised kids activities, which will follow services. So looking ahead, we have the Women of Beth Ahabah organizing a diaper drive in partnership with the Weinstein JCC. See the box in the lobby for details. Then on Saturday, February 14th, our ever-popular trifecta of Tat Shabbat, Guitar Workshop, and Talmud Lunch and Learn. And then also Valentine's Day.
You know, it's not technically a Jewish holiday,
Right,
but I'll give it to you.
The quadfecta. Purim is coming. Mark your calendar for our community young adult Hamantash and baking on Thursday, February 19th. The annual Congregational Hamantash and Bake Fest on Sunday, February 22nd. This year's Billy Joel-inspired Purim Spiel on Sunday, March 1st, and on Purim Shabbat services and Carnival dinner Friday, March 6th.
It's a lot of Purim this year. There's actually even another Purim thing that's not in this list that I forgot to put in, which is Monday night, whatever that Monday is. Honestly, the 2nd, March 2nd, which is Erev Purim itself. Rabbi and I are doing a dinner and study session about Megillat Esther, because how often do you actually get to go through and talk through the whole Megillah?
So that is it. So stay safe and stay warm, and we will look forward to seeing you again. And for all these activities and information, see the back of your Shabbat programs or the e-news weekly emails for more on upcoming programs. And thank you again, and Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks, Lee. Shabbat Shalom. As we bring our service in for a landing, a blessing for all of us. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May we be blessed with health and strength this week and in the coming months and years ahead in our lives. And Hamotzi, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. So I'm going to ask Lee to carry some bread and chocolate around to everybody, and I'm going to just, do this. And while Lee is carrying around the challah and the chocolate to everyone, I invite us to turn in our prayer books to page 342. Page 342. Because what I didn't have time to tell you in my sermon, so I'll tell you now, is that at the very end of the Song of the Sea, as soon as the song is over, the Torah says, and then Miriam and the women all took drums, which is sometimes translated as timbrels, in their hands, and they led the people in a song, and it's the first line of the song. So did Moses write the song? Did Miriam write the song? We don't know. But there is a strong tradition of associating Miriam with the Song of the Sea, and so we'll close on page 342 with Miriam's song by Debbie Friedman. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam was a weaver of unique variety. The tapestry she wove was one which sang our history. With every strand and every thread she crafted her delight. A woman touched with spirit, she dances toward the light. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. When Miriam stood upon the shores and gazed across the sea, the wonder of this miracle she soon came to believe. Whoever thought the sea would part with an outstretched hand, and we would pass to freedom and march to the promised land. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. And Miriam the prophet took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. And Miriam raised her voice in song, she sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle, we're gonna dance tonight. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song to the one whom we've exalted. Miriam and the women danced and danced the whole night long. Yeah. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Stay warm out there.